So in that sense, what he called his middle way between those two was really quite radical.
Buddhism became a monastic religion. About the 8th century AD, it came into conflict with Hinduism, following Muslim invasions from the north. Towards the end of the 12th century, Buddhist universities throughout India were sacked, and Buddhism almost disappeared. Buddhism survived because monks and travelers had taken the Buddha's teachings all over Asia. It has taken root in such countries as China, Tibet, and Korea because the Buddha's Dharma, or truth, appeals to everyone. There are no barriers of race or class in Buddhism, and it has been open to the influence of local custom and belief.
Buddhism seems to have adapted itself to many different types of culture around the world, but what doesn't change are its principles. How those principles are expressed does change in all sorts of ways, and you can see the host culture is used as a vehicle for expressing timeless truths. I think in particular for us in the West, it's important to see that we don't have to wear robes and go out with a begging bowl and shave our heads in order to practice the truths that the Buddha was teaching. Those are much more Asian accretions, they're Asian customs that aren't that relevant to really what he was teaching. And I think that's quite important because people can be off-put by the externals, but those aren't really what it's about at all.
The Buddha is perceived to be neither human nor God. He transcends the nature of both. His teaching offers a solution to the fundamental problem of the human condition. Nothing is permanent. Happiness doesn't last. There will always be suffering and death. This state is known in Buddhist teaching as dukkha. The first step on the road to enlightenment is to recognize this. There is nothing negative or pessimistic about this recognition. I teach only dukkha and the cessation of dukkha. Once the cessation of dukkha has been achieved, the Buddhist attains nirvana, the eradication of greed, hatred, and delusion. Buddhists believe a natural law governs the spiritual world, as the material world is governed by physical law. This natural law is called karma. The law of karma states that every deed ripens with time. This will affect whether one's future rebirths are favorable or unfavorable. There is a moral and natural dimension to karma.
Watch, we got time today only on Tubi. Let's do this. You gonna eat the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Who you supposed to be?
I keep the show going, baby.
Well, we ain't gonna last long.
Built without limits. Dynapro. Hankook Tire.
This is a very big and quite complex topic. One way you could sum it up is that actions have consequences. Everything we do, and that includes every thought we have and every word we speak, as much as every sort of activity or deed, will have an effect. It'll have an effect on our minds, and it'll probably have an effect on the outside world or other people. To say exactly what effect that has is hard to quantify or evaluate, but it is the law of cause and effect, simply. One thing leads to another, but often there's more than one cause for any given result. So it is very hard to break down into sort of neat examples, you could say. One one analogy I quite like was the Buddha was saying that angry words will have will have an effect. I mean, every word has an effect, but he likened if one throws a hot coal in anger at somebody, it will have an effect. And the first effect is that you'll burn your own hand before the person you're trying to throw the hot coal at. And that is an example of how one's own states of mind affect oneself as much as externally.
The Buddhist travels along the path leading to the cessation of dukkha by means of bhavan, or meditation.